Mr. Hughes, rumor has it that you're a paranoid, deranged millionaire. Is this on the level? I'm not a paranoid, deranged millionaire. God damn it, I'm a billionaire. Mr. Hughes, do you have any business partners? My father told me never have partners. Mr. Hughes, how say you about this scuttlebutt that you have lots of fat cats in your pockets? Every man has his price, or a guy like me couldn't exist. Okay, Mr. Hughes, one more question for the record. Is it true that your Hughes Tool Company has and retains a stranglehold and a quasi-monopoly on its use of its drilling bits? We don't have a monopoly. Anyone who wants to dig a well without a Hughes bit can always use a pick and shovel. Okay, we're at 211 South Muirfield, and we're in the Hancock Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. And what we have in front of us is where the great business tycoon of the 20th century, Howard Hughes, lived from 1929 to 1942. He lived here with his young wife Ella, and he was actually married to her in 1925 in Texas. And then right after moving in here, she left him, she divorced him. Well, this house, it's a Spanish colonial motif, hacienda style, and it was built by the architect Ronald Coates. And when Howard Hughes first came here, he fell in love with this house because it's right exactly adjacent to the Wilshire Country Club. And he was renting it from a very rich, wealthy widow named Eva Fudger for $1,000 in 1928. He ended up not wanting to ever move, so he ended up buying the house from her for $135,000. And this is pretty much where he entertained the most powerful and elite of Hollywood, industry, and commerce throughout the 1930s. He lived here while he was filming the famous movie House Angels with Jean Harlow. And as you can see back there, all those trees, that's the Wilshire Country Club. And this is the old neighborhood in Hancock Park, which incidentally we're a couple of blocks away from where Nat King Cole bought his house in 1948 for whatever that's worth. And as you can see here, because the young 24-year-old Howard Hughes, when he lived here, when he first moved in, he was an avid golfer all his life. He could just walk through the backyard gate and play golf to his pleasure, penultimate pleasure. Okay, he was a business tycoon, entrepreneur, investor, aviator, aerospace engineer, inventor, filmmaker, philanthropist. And in this house in 1935, in his Hughes H1 Racer, he broke the land plane airspeed record for 352 miles per hour in Santa Ana, California. And then in 1938, he broke the transcontinental airspeed record, doing it in 7 hours, 28 minutes, and 25 seconds. And then also in 1938, he circumnavigated the globe, and it took him 91 hours, or rather about 3 days. And if you've ever seen The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio by Martin Scorsese, they filmed scenes back here in the backyard when he was wooing Katharine Hepburn, the character, and while the actual person in the movie was Cate Blanchett playing the character of Katharine Hepburn. And he had countless starlets and young female models, and just scores of women that he dated, and he lived here with them off and on throughout the 1930s until 1942. He was a very, very much a ladies' man. And for what it's worth, his uncle, Rupert Hughes, he was a novelist, screenwriter, and film director. And the way he got his wealth was his father, he died when he was, I think he was 19. And his dad invented and patented this what they called the two-cone roller bit. And the way he made his fortune, his father, was instead of selling the bits, he would lease them. So that was an incredibly ingenious method that he figured out. And when he died, I think they said that he got 75% of his father's wealth, and that was a Hughes tool company, and that's why he was able to live such a lavish, independent lifestyle. And he was born in Humble, Texas, and that's where he's buried, in Houston. And let me just give you fans of popular culture a little rundown. Okay, in 1927 he made a film called Everybody's Acting, and then actually he had already done a film in 1926 called Swell Hogan, but it was so bad he withdrew it from production. And then in 1927 he did Two Arabian Nights with William Boyd and Louis Woheim and Mary Astor and Boris Karloff. And then he did The Mating Call in 1928 with Thomas Meehan and Evelyn Brandt. And then The Racket, 1928, nominated for Best Picture, but it lost to Wings in 1927. And then continuing on the list, he did Hell's Angels while living here in 1930, and he spent $3.8 million, and then it ended up making $8 million, and it won for Best Cinematography. And this house at the time, this was the new type of motif they were trying to bring back to Southern California, the Spanish colonial themed house. And that gate right there, it still works with the hydraulic gate opener that he had his engineers develop at Hughes Tool. And fantastic, beautiful home. And this is one of the oldest neighborhoods, Hancock Park. This is where I said before Nat King Cole lived. And then George Raft, he lived in this neighborhood. Mae West, and I think about in the 80s, Nicolas Cage, he lived in the same area where Mae West lived, and George Raft in what they called the El Royale apartments on Rossmore, not too far from here. And just a fantastic, beautiful environment. And it's actually from the Mexican period type of architecture. That's the way they used to build in the old Spanish era, when the Spanish controlled California. And when they were building this in 1926, rumor has it that he was driving down in his flashy red sports car down the street, and they said he crashed into that gate right there, and he leaped out of the car, and much to the consternation of the stunned construction workers, he said, "I gotta have this house and I will buy it at any price." Well, Eva Fudger, she actually ended up selling it to him, and like I said before, he was only 24. And the war was raging in 1942. America had just entered the war, and that's when he finally moved out of here. That's when this part of LA was really expanding. And okay, well, if you're at all interested in coming here, it's in mid-city LA, right off Wilshire Boulevard. And I would highly encourage you to come to this neighborhood, because this area is pretty much the way it looked in the 1920s and 30s. And he was married to a little actress named Terry Moore from 1949. She alleges that they never got divorced. And then Jean Peters, he married her in 1957 and 1971. And they're still looking for the paperwork to find out if he really did divorce her. Apparently they never did find it. But She said that she was married to him legally until he died in 1976 at age 80. So who knows? Most of his family got his wealth, his extended family. And after he did Hell's Angels in 1930, he did The Front Page with Adolph Menjou in 1931, and he did Scarface with Paul Mooney. And then, of course, The Outlaw with Jane Russell. Okay, well, thank you, and please subscribe to my channel and get a good shot of the house. Okay, may we all be like, or try to achieve what Mr. Howard Hughes did in his youth. Okay, thank you very much.